He actually said bitch.
Yeah, do you want me to play it before?
You're live now. You're live now. So it's let's get some music in the background.
Oh, I've got music. My phone's ringing.
There we are. We got some music. You're supposed to be in the green room. Shh. Be quiet.
Oh.
All right. Be quiet. That means you, Trevor. That means you, Mark. Okay. You can't be quiet, can you? Come on, guys. Come on in. Here we go.
Choo choo.
Okay, you're there. We can see you. Are they? It's like the music in the background.
Lovely.
Oh, are we live now?
We're live. I think we're live.
Mark, you don't need trance.
Huh?
Don't know. You said we were live, so I'll take your word for it.
It says we're live, but anyway, so what can I say? Anyway, let's fade some of that music out.
Got any techno?
Aren't you going to check to see if we're live on the phone?
I was going to, and you said we're live, so I just...
Oh, you're taking my word for it. Don't take my word for it. I speak Zelensky speak.
Bitch.
Hey.
All right, okay. Well, the whole podcast this week is going to be about our people in Ukraine and the Russians and the Americans and everything that's going on. I mean, initial views about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. While Mark has a cough, go ahead, Mark.
Views. Look, there's only one outcome for this with peace, isn't there? Look, let's look at the possible outcomes. Let's see where we actually stand before we discuss this. All right, we've got Russia take the whole of Ukraine. Well, that's going to be a lot of death and money for nothing, isn't it? No peace. It stays like it is. We could be here again in 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Nothing's changed. Lots of money, lots of death. That doesn't ensure peace either, does it? This is very unlikely. Ukraine actually push Russia back to Russia.
It isn't going to happen. We know that.
It's not going to happen.
No.
It's not going to change anything. It's not going to stop Putin if he wants to come back. No peace. Then you've got everyone back Ukraine and we attack Russia. Well, we know how that's going to end. That's probably the most extremely unlikely and the most destructive one. There's probably other options if anyone can think of any, but the final one I can think of is a peace deal.
Yeah, that's it.
And do you know what? Ukraine might lose some land and everyone might lose some pride, but at least everyone stops dying.
That's right.
Maybe we'll get some peace, because that's the only option to me.
Yep.
So if Zelensky wants to go to the White House and start being cheeky and disrespectful and mouthing off, then it's not going to end well for him, is it? Trump was right. He doesn't hold the cards. I'm afraid the Russians do.
Well, let's have a look.
One person who's trying to help them, Trump, I think they should probably let him crack on with it.
Yeah, I would suggest. Trevor, quick one.
I mean, yeah. I mean, some of the comments I've heard over the Trump incident thing is that apparently Trump's sort of looking towards gaining the peace pride. What's it called? The peace
pride. No, don't start
Nobel
mentioning
Peace
pride.
No.
That's just people's opinions, Trev.
Yeah.
He does
obviously.
What's it
called? God, I'm stuck.
Nobel Peace Prize, yeah, because Obama got one and Obama got one and he wasn't happy, was he?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, he's not going to be happy with Starmer now. Because Starmer and Macron, they're the ones that are formulating a peace plan.
I know. Take a look at this. Here we go.
Saddos, but yet they need
America, and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with...
Did you see Zelensky's face then?
Hey, I was just going to say that. There's a lot of face twitching going on
I know.
there.
Check this out. Check this out.
You know, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way, so that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I will respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace And the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Now, those are great words because that's the truth. Because you remember, Biden just kept on pumping money into USAID. They keep on calling it USAID. It's not. It's USA International Development. And the money that went into that was phenomenal. I'll let it carry on.
I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was,
he killed.
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire.
Now, there is a lot of questions about this, what he's saying there. He's saying that basically that Putin signed so many deals to actually stop the war, but then reneged on every one of them. Now, the Russians are saying, no, they didn't do the reneging. They said the Ukrainians did. So this is what's actually being broadcast. So at the moment, I'm thinking everybody in the world is thinking Zelensky, according to the mainstream media, is a hero. Whereas in actual fact, in his own country, they consider him a dictator and they're not happy with them. And they're actually conscripting people by taking them off the streets by force. And that's what J.D. Vance has been going on about.
That's what he said to him.
Yep.
You take people around like propaganda and stuff. I don't know if you got the video I sent you, or should I just explain what it was?
You can explain it.
Because I don't think the mainstream media is showing this, because Trump sent someone over to speak to Zelensky and asked him to sign the deal.
Yeah.
He refused. Now, this guy said there was a 45-minute argument between the two of them.
Yeah.
And he said, what are we meant to tell the press now? And he said, I'll tell them I'll sign it at Munich. So at Munich, Vance and Rubio bumped into him and he wouldn't sign the deal. Then he got called over to America. And then this happened. So you kind of see the Americans' frustration here.
Oh,
like
incredible.
The disrespect shown to them. All right, I mean, I understand Zelensky's frustrated, but just remember what the Americans have been through. They've been fighting the globalists and the deep state
and
now
they've been
for like 10
paying
years.
for it. And they've been
They've
paying
tried to
for
put
it.
them all in jail and crucify them all.
Yeah.
And literally, Trump's nearly been shot. Now they're trying to have a revolution of their own, as well as trying to sort all this mess out. And you've got him coming in, apparently. And I'm not convinced he called Vance a bitch.
No.
But a few people are convinced he said bitch. I just think he went, pfft. But either way, his body language wasn't.
Well, I'm going to come on to that because
he didn't do what Starmer and Macron did he? And be a bit diplomatic and try and get stuff done. He went there for an argument by the look of it.
He did go for an argument. But I've got ITV had an interview with somebody. I'm going to bring that on in a minute about body language, especially with Starmer. But if you look at this and the way that Trump is actually almost like he's in possession of information and he's tolerating Zelensky. And I think that there's information going to come out. So let's carry on with this.
Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
Bang! Look at Trump looking at him and saying, "Go ahead."
That was the bit where he was meant to call them a bitch, but you didn't hear it, did you? He just went, didn't he? Yeah.
You know, Trump's looking at them. He's looking at two people sparring there. J.D. Vance is waiting to take his head off because I think that guy knows things about Zelensky that they're not bringing out. You know,
there's something
public.
more going on in the background.
Yeah, you can tell that, can't you?
There's definitely something in the background. That just didn't spark off like that. Something's gone on.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's another twist coming to this with these minerals. I wasn't aware of these minerals, apparently. There's trillions of dollars worth of minerals.
That's right.
In Ukraine. Now, this has put a slight twist on it for me, but something came into my mind the other day. Is that what Putin's after, I wonder?
No, because Putin has his own store. His country is also rich in rare earth. That's what they call it, rare earth. His country is also rich in it. And he tried to do a deal with Trump to bring Trump over to work in Russia. You know, so Ukraine are not the only ones with cards on the table. Now, Putin is looking to actually say, look, he wants a stop to the war. He definitely does. There's no two ways about it. All right. And the way to stop Ukraine becoming a part of NATO is for the US to negotiate a block on that, go into Ukraine and do business there for rare earth, which means that there are American feet on the ground in Ukraine, which will stop Putin from attacking Ukraine. Because if they threaten US
not necessarily, because there'll only be workers, won't they? That's not going to stop anyone,
it will stop them. I'm absolutely certain of it, Mark. It will stop them from attacking.
But with no peacekeeping force in Ukraine whatsoever, you think American contractors are going to go and work over there?
Well,
sending them back to the Taliban now, wouldn't it? And saying, it's all right, they won't attack them.
I see your logic, and I agree with your logic and what you're saying. But what I'm saying is the thinking behind it is if America are there, because this guy wants to become a part of NATO. And if he becomes a part of NATO, that's a red rag to a bull with Putin. Putin won't have it. So Trump has been quite smart in saying, okay, let's do a mineral deal. We'll put our people over there. The chances are they're not going to attack. That's his thinking. And you've got Starmer coming in, grandiose, saying we're going to put boots on the ground. Are you going to send anybody down there, Trevor?
No, he came out today. I only caught it just before we came on air. That he's going to put boots on the ground and planes in the air. Whoa! That's a bit of a. Oh, you don't start saying stuff like that to Putin.
No, you don't.
Is that not going to aggravate the situation?
He's clever though, isn't he? Yeah, he's Starmer. He knows that planes go in the air, so he's getting better. Like,
but he must have obviously been briefed on that because he didn't work it out himself.
What's he going to do next? What's he going to do next? Put boats in the sea or the Channel? Do you know what? I know this is important, but it does not frustrate me because we can't even. Well, say we. No, sorry, they can't even get our house in order first. Do you know what I mean? Our economy's not great. The streets are definitely not safe. Our democracy, they call it's being absolutely attacked from all angles.
All angles. He wants to go protect borders in Ukraine, and he can't even protect our borders. He can't protect our borders.
500 today.
The streets not being safe and that. While we're on, I can just say to the person that stole my shoes today whilst I was playing on my bouncy castle, grow up. It's not clever.
It might have been a Ukrainian.
It might have been, yeah.
Apparently,
I was going to say something else, but
they're noted as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And go ahead, Mark.
Well,
go ahead.
They used to be, didn't they? See, do you know what? They've been ramming this down children's throats in school, haven't they, recently?
Yeah.
I'm getting a bit bored of these arguments, right, that have just got no context. It's black and white. It's either his fault or their fault. This thing goes back. It can go back to Stalin and maybe even before that. Do you know what I mean? This isn't the same as someone invading England. This is totally different. This is a similar ethnic group who've been having a row over land for many years. It's a different situation altogether. It just frustrates me the way it just always boils down to black and white. It's dead simple argument. Must beat Putin, but you're not going to.
No,
the only way to stop this is to let Trump do it because he's the only person who wants to try and stop this.
It's a war that cannot be won by Ukraine. And now we have, the knight in white shining armor, Keir Starmer. Do you like that?
Yeah, riding on his donkey.
Donkey.
Oh, he's just a bell end, isn't he?
There's no two ways about it. And he's grandstanding, saying, oh, right, well, we're going to send this amount of money, but we're going to take it out of Russian assets. The interest of Russian assets. Okay, did you catch that?
Yeah.
Where's the money coming from? I mean, because what happened to the 22 billion black hole?
That magic money tree again, isn't it? Do you know what? Does he even know what he's doing and saying? He's like, we're having what do they call it? A group of the willing or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And then he's like, right, we're going to do this, 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 and this, but we need America. No, what he really should say is, all right, we've just realised we need to do exactly what Trump says, but we're going to make it look like we've organised it all because Trump doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, mate, within a week or so, he'll be back to that little Zelensky, he'll be back to that White House, he'll be signing that deal, mate. Because no one wants to put troops in, do they? No one wants to put planes and no one wants to put troops. They're all just saying what they think each of them want to hear.
I need to tell you something. I think X has just cut us off for talking about this because it's just come up that there was a streaming error on X. There is no streaming error because this is a mega connection. So,
well, maybe it's when I call start. I'm on a bell end. I'll call him a tosser next time then instead. I mean, that's just one of the nicer things I'd call him, to be honest. But
well, the guy has just placed himself.
That off then.
He's just placed himself right in the middle of everything. And, it's all grandiose. And what has he actually got to offer? Because in the end, they can't do anything without America. Let's have a look at this, and you'll like this. This is ITV actually got a body language expert in to actually talk about Starmer and the meeting between Starmer and Trump. Take a look at this.
This is the meeting of Mr. Charisma, which, for whatever you think about Donald Trump, he is Mr. Charisma with Mr. Logic, Mr. Legal. And so it's like Mars and Venus, right? Macron, he's also Mr. Charisma. And so they might not be equals, but they can meet on that level of fighting out their handshakes. But when Sir Keir Starmer meets Trump, it's a really mismatched meeting. Fascinating, even a tiny moment of those handshakes. I mean, we know the power of the political handshake. And what was so fascinating to watch was that Trump is now in his statesman-like era. Whereas in his first presidency, there was more to fight for, there was more to show. Now he's totally comfortable in his leadership. Whereas Sir Keir, as he arrived, it felt like he was a new boy in his new uniform at school on the first day, in the sense that he was so stiff and held in that moment. And you could see him kind of pulling his sleeves down. And then there was a moment where he slightly touched his tummy, and it was a kind of self-soothing, you're going to be all right. And I can't blame him, if I'm totally honest, because the pressure of this
He's like a new boy at school, turning up at school. Okay, watch it. Carry on. Watch this.
Historical moment on him is huge, even if the special relationship is not what it was. But you could see the pressure of that in how held his body language was. And then next to him, Trump is the silverback.
No doubt about it.
Totally relaxed, totally grounded, on his home turf. And the difference, it couldn't be starker. The comparison with the Macron-Trump moment, where there was the thigh slapping and the kind of the speaking over each other and how they handled that moment, was stark. Because the thing about Macron is he's also charismatic. And Trump knows that. But what Trump does, which outplays every other political operator, is he's a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't just engage in the press conference, in the dialogue. It's more like a kind of Oscars press briefing, in that as Macron is talking, Trump is looking out at the camera as if to say, it's almost like The Apprentice, as if to say, no, I'll humor him, but he's wrong.
Yeah,
and that relationship
right.
with the camera is different to what most politicians do, because most politicians are in logic and statespersonship and negotiation, but Trump is in charisma and playing to the camera. And to be honest, that's why he's winning.
There you go.
That was a good analysis. I like that.
Absolutely brilliant. And I'm thinking, my God, okay, that just actually says it all, doesn't it? So Starmer is like the new schoolboy turning up, but all of a sudden he's center stage. And Mark and I had a conversation about this the other day, and we were just saying, he's just grandiosing. He's using this country's money. What happened to the 22 billion black hole, Mark?
Well, answer is like there's a money tree now, isn't there? An absolute money tree. I mean, they've just pulled another how many billions out the backside there. So you've got a what was it? A 22 billion black hole. Yeah, they just pull more from nowhere. Is that right? Well, I'd love to know where this money tree is, because I need to know.
You just sit there and you just go, what the hell?
To be fair, like I kind of wish that the Zelensky-Trump thing was behind closed doors, but the Starmer and Trump thing was out in the open.
Yeah,
because apparently they did have a conversation with him about free speech, but they're not really alluding to what happened.
No.
But after he blatantly came out and told that barefaced lie, where he said, "Oh, we're quite pleased with our free speech in the UK," and he can't even talk, and just lied. And
they're nicknaming him Mr. Adenoid in America.
Honestly, are these people just lying to themselves?
Yeah.
Because I've got another point, that there's a lot of cognitive dissonance going around here. Now, I mentioned this to you, didn't I, John?
Mm-hmm.
So these people think that Russia are a threat to Europe and America, yeah?
Yeah.
Yet they think that if we just send Ukraine some money, they can beat Russia, yeah?
Yeah.
Someone just explain the logic to me with this, because I've asked loads of people.
If they haven't done it in 3 years,
talking about.
If they haven't done it in 3 years, they ain't going to do it now.
But it can't be both, can it?
No.
Russia can't be this big bad threat to everyone in the world, and that's what triggered Trump. Was when Zelensky said, "You'll feel it too." I'm sorry, but no, that's unrealistic. Russia are struggling against Ukraine; they're not really going anywhere.
Yeah.
In fact, they've been on a bit of the back foot this last week or two in certain areas. So again, how can they be such a massive threat, but then they expect Ukraine to easily beat without anyone's help?
Well,
if anyone can explain to me the logic behind this, I'd love to listen to it, because it doesn't make sense.
How are they going to get conscription across to the British public? Because it seems like they're preparing everybody for it. Tobias Ellwood is saying that we are at war with Russia already.
God, he's a piece of work, him, isn't he? He's another one. You better watch out. Russia will take America. No, they won't at all.
No.
They haven't took Ukraine in 3 years. I'm not being funny, but come on. Even if the whole of Europe pulled all their troops together and shoved them in Ukraine, Russia would get battered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple as.
I'm sure I've heard this. We've either mentioned it on the podcast or something, where it was predicted by somebody, not Nostradamus, somebody else, something like that.
Nicodamus.
Where it was going to be. Yeah, it wasn't Nicodamus, it wasn't me. It was something about we're already at war with Russia anyway, which will be announced when Labour get in. Yeah. I remember hearing that we've been at war with Russia for so long, for such and such a period.
We kind of are, aren't we, in a way? Because if we're training Ukrainian troops and arming them and funding it all, then...
Well, yeah, it's a proxy war, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a proxy war.
Just because we're too scared to actually get our fingers dirty. Well, sorry, the people who are actually pushing this are too scared to get their fingers dirty. And when they get the fingers dirty, it won't be their own fingers or their own kids' fingers, will it? We know that.
No, it
Well,
never
this is
is it?
all hiding all the real troubles that are taking place in the UK. That's
It's
the
frustrating.
biggie.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're just taking center stage and trying to beef Starmer up as a statesman on the world platform, and that guy is not a world statesman. He's not at all. And I mean, can you imagine? They have not actually featured Lammy in anything. They've
No,
not
not
featured
seen
him in
him, have you?
anything.
Not seen him.
That's because he dresses like a tramp. Do you know? I think that the thing that was a little bit unfair is when they had to pop at Zelensky for not wearing a suit. I'm not being funny. The fella's having a war, man. I think that's a lot. Look, some people just don't wear suits. I mean, all right, yeah, I probably would make an effort if I went to the White House to see Donald. Next time he invites me, I might even put a tie on. But you know,
I've had a number of phone calls from him.
I just think that was a little bit petty. Who was it anyway? Chipping in from over the back. No, there was already two of them on one. I wouldn't say they bullied him. I just think they were trying to just put him in his place and say, look, you're in our environment. We're the ones who are trying to help you.
Yeah.
Do you want to just shut up and sign this deal? Because this is the third time now you're still arguing, you're not signing it.
Well, what do you think about the argument that he had with Trump? And then all of a sudden, he's invited over to the UK by Starmer, and he gets an immediate audience with the king.
It's not a state visit, though, is it? So it's
No, it's not a state visit, but I mean, what a kick in the balls for Trump.
Yeah, but
not really.
Well, that's
No,
down
it
to
is. It is.
that's down to Charlie. Isn't it? What's royalty doing meeting Zelensky anyway?
Yeah,
What's
well,
that
that's
about?
the thing, you see.
What's that about? I mean, why has he done that? That's Charles just being whatever he's being.
Didn't come and meet us, did he, when they all locked us in our houses, which is actually his job to defend our rights, seeing as that's literally in his oath he takes. But yet he can stick his little oar in with this, can he? Yeah. Oh, so just pick and choose, lad. Right.
Well,
okay.
from what I've seen and taken a straw poll, the monarchy are on the downside now.
Very thin ice. I agree with you.
A lot of the posts that I've seen on X and Facebook and a lot of the others, Instagram, what they're saying is the monarchy died with Elizabeth II.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
You know,
Well,
they're not
I've got
interested
other feelings
in
on
Charles.
it, but that's for another day.
Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? You got other feelings on it? You want it to continue because
the monarchy died the day they didn't stick to the constitution and their own oaths, which was quite a long way back from that, to be honest. So,
well, I thought he was going to mention it'll come back with William. Then that's what I thought he was going to.
No, it'll be even worse with him.
Yeah, I thought he was going to learn that.
Well, he's decided to stand down as the head of the Church of England.
Impossible. He won't be the king then, because the whole constitution, he takes an oath to be the head of the church. Or we just get rid of the church.
Yeah, as we've discussed before anyway, they'll just change the goal. They'll move the goalposts, won't they?
Well, I was at Parliament. I was at Parliament last week. Sorry, Trevor, you were speaking. Go ahead.
No, it's only a little statement for the people that are watching us on YouTube. But if you're enjoying our podcast, just please hit the like button and also subscribe to our channel.
Indeed.
I mean, it doesn't cost. When you say subscribe, people think it involves a cost, but on YouTube it doesn't. It doesn't cost a penny. All you've got to do is subscribe.
Doesn't cost anything.
Doesn't cost anything, and you'll get notified about our podcasts that are coming up.
Our podcasts and our streaming, because
really does help it helps us to keep the podcast going. So if you wouldn't mind, just subscribe and give us a like. That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Well,
Sorry about that, Jonathan.
As an American, I'm going to be having a word with Elon and tell him what I think. You know, cutting us off in that way because there was nothing wrong with the stream at all. And I know that. But anyway, there you go. So they didn't like us talking about this subject at the moment.
It's their subject. Well, I'm not sure it'll be that, but if they're actually going to mess around, then they can just get lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the point of wasting your time in it?
Yeah, well, we'll still get out in any way either. All right. Quickie, all of this is taking the emphasis off domestic politics, which is what the purpose of it is. And yes, we're talking about it, but there are serious problems. And I was back at Parliament last week, and I did a few quick lives just to let everybody know that I was there. And to be honest with you, I didn't like what I was hearing. The meetings were good, but I didn't like what I was hearing. And I am actually extremely worried about the way that things are going. And there is a different attitude between people in Parliament towards free speech as regards to the lies that Starmer was telling to Trump and J.D. Vance, because they know there is no free speech. It's only free if you agree with Starmer. That's it. And if you don't agree, and there are so many cases of people saying that they don't like their Labour councillors, and then they're getting knocks on the door, like we did a story about it last week. They're getting knocks on their door from police. Well, I'm making the case quite clearly now. Anybody in Cheshire West, Cheshire East, or Warrington, be prepared. Because if you don't like what we're saying about you, you better get worried. Because I won't hesitate in taking legal action against you. And I will go at you. And it's as simple as that. And I will not allow any freedom of speech where people are complaining about their Labour councillors and what they do and not actually telling the truth about certain things, where we're not finding out exactly. And that's a direct message to Cheshire West, Cheshire East, and Warrington. We're looking at you now, and we're definitely going to be asking for information. And if we don't get it, well, you're going to have problems. Go ahead, Mark.
Speaking of councils, remember all these years when the fake Conservatives were in and they were all blaming the government? Oh, the government's an austerity and they never give us any money. And, oh, we don't really want to put your council tax up. Oh, what did they vote on in the Cheshire West Council the other week? And who's in government now anyway? I don't hear any of this Labour austerity. The government aren't giving us any money. We don't want to put your council tax up. We'll put that up anyway. And then we'll say we're skint, and then we'll just keep pulling billions out of our backside. I don't know, gay porn that Europe built, or Ukraine, or I don't know, people's mental health in Colombia when our own children are on waiting lists. I can go on and on and on for about an hour with all this. But
that's going to be a separate podcast,
in our pockets,
isn't it?
aren't they? They're weighing in our pockets again and telling us it's raining.
Yeah.
We've got to get rid of a lot of them.
I mean, it is. I mean, but get rid of a lot of them. I mean, where are we going to go? I don't know. I've got a clue. Haven't got a clue at all. I think we need to. I'm going to finish off with a dad joke anyway. I've not done a dad joke for a long while, have I?
God. Listen, I heard one the other day, and I literally took the bones out of it, and I was out shopping with my wife. And some guy said, "Oh, I see you've got your helper there." And I went, "No, I'm her helper." And he said, "You're married?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I'm married because I decided that I didn't feel like finishing off my own sentences anymore."
Nice one. Go ahead. A bit of a smash today. It was it was a Wilkinson sword lorry. Had a near miss with a Gillette truck on the M8 this morning.
All right.
Police spokesman said both drivers said it was the closest shave they've ever had. Yeah, that was one. And why was on about wives? Why are you on about wives? Actually, he just sparked something else off there, Jonathan. Wife said, "Our new neighbours, they're so in love. He kisses her, strokes her hair, he hugs her. Why don't you do that stuff?" He said, "I don't know her that well yet. What are you doing about?" Terrible.
Well, there you go. That's the end of this live cast, and there's going to be a lot more of them. Okay, well, say goodnight, chaps. Say goodnight.
Good night, everybody, and thank you so much for listening on all our different platforms, as they're called. I think they're called platforms.
So you used to say goodbye to our lovely listeners, but it's going to have to be listeners and viewers now, isn't it? I think that's if we've got any.
Viewers.
Yeah. We lost them all on X.
Okay, there you go. No matter. Alrighty, take it easy.